2 years ago, Texas Chain Saw Massacre had the horror game genre community by the balls. It looked like it was going to become Dead by Daylight's biggest competitor. It had incredible graphics, unique gameplay, and one of the biggest horror IPs of all time, and thousands of players were excited to finally have another asymmetrical horror game to sink their teeth into. But today, you couldn't even pay me to play this game. TCM was officially announced December 9th, 2021. But it wasn't just the idea of the game that got people excited, it was also who was publishing it. It was Gun Interactive, the same people behind the Friday the 13th, the game. And even before Friday the 13th was even released, Gun Interactive had a lot of expectations to live up to.
Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure? Stay calm.
And this was something that had never been done before. They would actually turn to Turtle Rock's Evolve for advice on how to make a game quite like this, and they would soon be pointed to the developers of IllFonic. Would they be able to do it? Skipping all the licensing and publishing hurdles that they had to go through, the game would release May 26, 2017. Gun Interactive never released any official sales numbers, but it is estimated the game sold 1.5 million copies in the first 3 months across all platforms, later selling an estimated 5.5 million copies throughout the game's life cycle. This game was a huge success, but not without its flaws. On release, all platforms had seen problems with connectivity, crashes, long wait times, and XP not given out properly. Xbox out of all platforms had seemed to suffer the most. I quote, "You couldn't play the game for the first week of launch on Xbox. We couldn't figure it out, and this was due to some coding issues that needed to be granted from Microsoft, which they would later be able to figure out. Fortunately, after that first week of release, everything seemed to be smoothed out, and players were enjoying matches, having a variety of outcomes to the games they were playing. Although the game still had bugs and glitches, there was still a lot of fun to be seen in this game. The first year of the game would be great until year 2, where Friday the 13th would be hit by a lawsuit that would put everything to a halt. This lawsuit was used to establish who owned what in the game, and it also prevented any new content being made for the game. It turned out to never be resolved till this day, and servers remained online till November 2020. It's now 2026, and the only way you can play is peer-to-peer. But with the bitter end of Friday the 13th, Gun Interactive would later team up with IllFonic again to kickstart for the same team that brought Friday the 13th to life is now working on another iconic IP. How could fans not be excited? TCM would release their beta late May of 2023, and I gotta be honest, it was incredibly fun. It was a refreshing take on an asymmetrical genre space and seemed to attack a lot of the things that were missing in other games. A casual, fun experience. On release, there was a ton of extra content that fans were not aware of during the beta. The maps were great, character models looked good, everyone had their own skill tree and attribute systems. Despite there being more bugs on release than the beta, it was still fun and a refreshing experience. TCM had the most potential out of any asymmetrical game released till this day. The first major problem popped up 1 week into the release. It was the cheaters. At the time, there really wasn't any anti-cheat in the game to stop them on release. We'll save that conversation for another time, but the way the devs decided to deal with this was to shut down crossplay. A lot of players ended up refunding the game and not playing again after this for the fact that this was left up like this for a whole month. That should tell you enough about how this game was. Not only that, but queue times took forever in this game, and when I mean they took forever, they took forever. You could very well be sitting in a lobby for 10 to 15 minutes before the game even starts. There's a 3-minute countdown on the timer, and if someone were to leave, the countdown gets reset. They eventually started to fix this, but by that time, it was too little, too late. And by the time the devs started to release DLC, once you got a hold of the DLC, it was very apparent all of it was pay to win, and they didn't think about any balancing issues that this might have caused, almost questioning whether or not they even tried to balance the game from the start or if they even play tested this character at all. Hence, Danny. Danny was the first DLC character to ever be added to the game, and he pretty much broke the game and caused a lot more people to quit after his release. And this wasn't even the biggest issue with the game. The biggest issue of the game was lack of content. It took us almost 6 months to get Danny, and the devs, all they had to show for it was just one character that costed $10. And once they started to get community backlash and they were tired of responding to it, updates started slowing down, player counts started dropping, and here we are in 2026, where the game doesn't even feel like it's alive anymore. It barely has a pulse. The people that are playing it are probably just still sitting in the lobby from the night before after eating their dinner and falling asleep, hoping they'll get a game. And not to mention, the cheater problem is still a problem. So I don't know what else to say. You couldn't pay me to play this game. You couldn't, like, I'd almost rather just read a book. That sounds crazy, right? But anyways, this was my video, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always, stay spicy.